What's up, fam? And welcome to episode 32.
32.
That's actually 34.
32.
Yeah. Okay.
Which is 4. See, 4.
Right, but
These are twos.
2 plus 2 equals 4.
Yes, that's been our day.
We've had quite the day today, y'all, so we know that this podcast is going to be a powerful one.
Amen.
But before we even get started in that, we wanted to do a little bit of a recap. We've been MIA. It's been kind of crazy these last couple of weeks, few weeks. I know many of you have reached out to us to ask us, hey, are you guys doing okay? We're waiting for the next episode. I thought that we missed something. And so, nope, we're here. We've been planning and preparing and getting ready. And so, and our beautiful editor slash producer slash daughter slash perfectionist is here with us today.
Amen.
So we are grateful to have her back, and we are going to be getting into a series because down the line, sometime this summer, to be exact, August 2nd, so mark it on your calendars, August 2nd. I'll repeat it again. When is it, babe?
August 2nd.
August 2nd, we are going to be doing our second Real Talk conference, and it's going to be family edition. And so with that being said, everyone, if you are young parents, if you are parents that are parenting teenagers, and if you are parents like us that are in the empty nesting stage and yet we're still parenting children, adult children, this is for you. This is for you. You want to be part of this. More details to come, but we thought that we are going to get into this series in these next coming weeks to talk specifically about blended families. But before we even get there, we wanted to, let's do a recap, y'all. I feel like our audience needs to know like where we've been, what have we been doing, what have we been up to, just to take like the next 3 minutes. So what was something that we recently encountered and or had the privilege of being part of?
Well, we led the Master's Commission's young ones down to Honduras. Mm-hmm. And it was an amazing time. They were so super engaged, very easy. I thought it was going to be more difficult because we had a load of them, almost 20. How many were there? 16?
I mean, I think in total there was 23 of us.
23, so there was 21 of them. And so, but we had a really good time. We were able to see what the new process is looking like. So to Pastor Pepe and the team out there in Honduras, they're doing a really good job of making sure our kids are eating quite a few times during the week and on the weekends. And so, yeah, it's a great time. We've seen a couple miracles. Mm-hmm. So just like as usual, God was showing up and showing off. We made a good partnership with somebody who drives a bus now, so we don't have to worry about, clutches getting burnt out and cars being have to get towed in and things like that. So it was really a really good time. So
good stuff.
Yeah.
Gianna, how was this experience going with your Master's Commission family versus like being on a mission trip? Because you've been on several mission trips, but this was the first time that you were on a Master's Commission trip. So what was the difference for you?
Can I say something though? I just glossed over, but let me just start with, I was extremely proud to hear you give your testimony. I'll never forget. I'm pretty sure I took a picture of it. I just turned to the side and you're laying hands on this young lady and praying for them. It's not anything that I would have expected from you maybe 3 to 5 years ago. Because even then, I remember we were walking in Tony's, and I was like, man, how come you sometimes just avoid even saying hi to people that you know? It's like, I don't really like people. I was like, yeah. And she went from that to now just laying hands on people and being very conscious of people's spiritual lives, which I think is super important. So I just wanted to say how proud I am of the work that you're doing, and it seems like they're layering on more and more responsibility on you, and you are excelling. So praise God for that.
Amen.
I think that I think I told a lot of the masters this, but like, I've been on mission trips before. Like, duh, hello. But I think this was like the first time that like I can say that this was my favorite mission trip for the right reason. Because before it was like, a lot of it was like the people that I'm with, or like the things we did and how easy it is. But like this time it was like I saw God move, and that was why it's my favorite trip that I've been on. And it's just a lot different because I'm going for a different reason, and I'm going with the people that are there for the same reason. Like, not saying that they weren't, like, the past mission trips I wasn't going for, like, there wasn't people going for that reason, but, like, it was just very different, and I felt very different about it because of how I was before, 3-4 years ago. Like, I know that I'm very different now, and I often say, like, if you told me 3 years ago that I, 1, would be giving a sermon, 2, would be open to the idea of praying for people, like, I would have called you cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs, because I don't do that. I don't go up to people. I don't talk to people. Right. I don't even look at people sometimes. So, like, doing, like, sometimes it's so hard for me, but even, like just thinking about, like, how I was, even just a year ago, like, I would have never done that. I would have never gone up to people. I would have never talked to anybody, prayed for anybody, like, especially in a different, like, not even knowing the language, like, just things like that. So I think this was definitely very different, and definitely my favorite trip that I've been on because of how different I felt about a mission trip. So, yeah.
That's good. Yeah, I think from my perspective, I agree with your dad in that, just kind of being, over the years, our responsibilities and our, like, the way that we interact has evolved, right? Where before we were in the front lines and we were doing a lot of the things, like we were doing a lot of the teachings, and we were doing a lot of the PG sessions, and we were doing a lot of the feedings. And so to sit back and watch, like, your group doing all of that, and then watching you front and center, like teaching a class on how to do. Oh my
gosh, I forgot about that.
Yeah. That was amazing to watch, though. And then the mere fact that, although everyone had to be prepared to, like, give their testimony, the mere fact that you and, the other ones that had to give testimony just kind of, like, stepped into that space and then did it.
Well, here's the thing. That wasn't the testimony I was supposed to give.
Right. That's what I'm saying. It was...
Like, I wrote a testimony.
Right.
But it wasn't the one you wanted me to give.
Correct. That's what I'm saying.
Right.
That's why it blew our minds even more, because you guys had to think on your toes. Like, I think...
No, Mommy, you're not understanding.
What?
Everybody else was prepared to give that testimony. Like Chris, Michaela, they were prepared for that. I was the only one that wasn't. That was not my testimony. They all had to write a testimony. I did not have that testimony written down.
Correct.
No, not correct, because I was the only one. I don't think you're understanding that.
Okay.
Everyone was prepared.
Right.
I was the only one unprepared. That is what I'm saying.
But more times than not, that's the way God moves, though. Like, I have a sermon prepared, but the sermon that I prepared is hardly ever the sermon that I preach. So I have the preparation, but what comes out has got to be what the Holy Spirit, and that's what you're telling us happened with you then.
Right.
Then it was the Holy Spirit that spoke.
Right. And I didn't write anything down.
So I was
very unprepared.
I think that was...
Especially because it was the night before. So
yeah.
It was awesome.
But you already had it in you, is what we're saying. Like, what happened there? So it was, anyways, it was just, good. It was really good to be witness of all of that. Again, we'll say it until we're blue in the face. I think that everybody, families included, if you ever want to see each other in a different light, if you ever want to, stretch yourselves, going on a mission trip is the way to do it, because, you don't know what's waiting on the other side of that. And again, the same God that is here with you is there in Honduras, is there in Haiti, in Africa. But I think what happens to you on the mission field is something completely different, because God is spontaneous and really just works his miracle signs and wonders and uses us to do it. So all good stuff. So,
and a lot of really good relationships that are kicking off in Honduras. Because even the lady who owns the bus was like, hey, whatever you guys need, this is God's bus. That's why I bought it. And the fact that you guys are using it to do God's work, whenever you come, just know that. And that's a huge relief on the organization, because we were paying a pretty penny for vehicles that were unreliable. And so now we had to drive it. And now we have a driver, Sergio, if you're watching from from Honduras, even though you don't understand what I'm saying because you don't speak English, but he was we were able to bless him. I thought that was also pretty cool.
And we had an opportunity to minister to him and to minister to his son.
Kids,
so
to his son.
just a lot of
Really
great things
stuff. Yeah, for sure.
to prove that God is all in it. So we had that. We had the mission trip. Then we came back and we did. We had our first kickoff for our marriage group. We did our comedy night for Valentine's Day.
That was fun. I forgot about that.
Yeah. So we did that we were in 4 different locations, right?
4 different locations.
So we were in 4 different locations, all at the same time, watching the same, comedy show. But I think all of us had a
glitch?
A similar, that too, but I mean, that always happens. But I think we all had like a similar thing that was going on in each location. And that was that we were really all doing life together. We were all learning, because there was new people that, were going to the different, to the different locations that didn't know each other. So we were able to mix and mingle. And that was really cool too. So, huge thank you to all of our team. We have an awesome core
Amazing
team.
Amazing team, yeah.
Like we are so blessed to have the team that we have. So for those of you that are watching, we love y'all. Thank you so much for all that you do.
And if you missed it, right, you have to go to Third Strand Marriage Ministry. What's our Third Strand, right? Third Strand on Facebook, on Instagram, and stay in the loop. Stay in the loop, because you could have been here with us, watching the comedy show, and getting to know each other. And we had so much food.
Oh my gosh, I feel like we always have so much food.
Yeah, we had. I think we had over 300 chicken wings in this place. at least 300 chicken wings. And
I think you're exaggerating a little bit. There's no way that all of us ate 300 chicken wings.
No, I'm saying we ate them. I'm saying they were because remember, somebody brought 50 and took the 50 back.
Either way,
there was a lot of food.
Lots of food.
Yeah.
So now we're in the month of March already.
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy time to me. So now we're getting into, better weather. The time is changing. We're getting into warmer weather, and we have lots and lots of things planned for our marriage group. So stay tuned and stay plugged in. So please, like Lou was saying, get onto our socials and we'll give updates. And if you want to send us your email address so that we can add you to any like future mailings or future emails, please send us your email and we will add you to our list.
Amen.
So let's get to our topic, Velasquez. A topic that we know lots and lots about, right?
Yeah.
Blended families. Hey, look, we were in a time of planning recently, not only planning for the rest of the year, but we were also planning for this particular event that we're going to be having in August. But this is a pretty major topic, because we found that we have a lot of blended families that are part of our, that are part of our core team. We have lots of blended families that are in our church today. And we found that there's a lot of younger families that are becoming or coming into relationships where they too are blended. And so there's a lot to talk about here. There's a lot to unwrap.
So let's define blended for those that may not be familiar with the with the term blended family means that either one or both come with kids from outside of the marriage. So I came with a 1-year-old son, and when Liz and I got married, then she became his mother.
Mother, and I still am mother to this day.
Yeah, that's what he calls her, so that it distinguishes her from his biological mother. But he still sees her as a mom, and he has grown into the realization that she's everything good that comes from having her as a mom.
Yeah.
And so I think that's really important for us to realize. So if that's you, this is a very important topic, and we ask that you kind of lean in and maybe even take notes, because we're going to talk through some very helpful tips and hints, not tips and tricks and not tricks, tips, tips and some strategies. Let's put it that way. Some tips and some strategies to help you grow together as a couple, husband and wife, all while you're raising kids that have different dynamics. So
I don't know if you got that the message that I had sent you, but Jesus came from a blended family. I'm just saying. Joseph technically
wasn't his father.
It was his stepfather. I mean, they didn't call stepfathers back then, but Joseph was a stepfather.
Okay, I hope we're not committing heresy here. But technically, you're right. And so I guess.
And if you think about it, Abraham, Sarah, Hagar, that would have been a blended family situation too.
Okay. I see you got notes, so you're going off.
I'm going based off my notes. Joseph, it's proven that Joseph has half brothers.
You didn't give me those notes.
I did.
No, you didn't. They must have been way at the bottom. Anyways, let's move on. I'm going to prove in the receipts. Let's move on.
He doesn't want to.
No, because you must have just sent it then.
No.
Let's just go. Anyways, go ahead with your dissertation.
I'm just proving that historically and even back in the Bible, it proves that blended families are inevitable.
Yeah, they have to be a thing, because people don't always stay with the person that they had the child, right?
Right.
And so yeah, from the beginning of time.
From the beginning of time.
That's right.
From the beginning of time.
Amen.
So we thought it was very important, because we're like numbers people too. We want to know facts. We Google a lot of things.
Some statistics.
And so we have some statistics here that I think people should know. And it says approximately 40 to 50 first marriages end in divorce. In fact, according to the National Center for Family and Marriage Research, over 50 marriages, 50% of marriages today are blended. But didn't you read something where it said 70%?
No, up to 67% of blended families end up in divorce. That's what I read. So 70% of families that are blended.
Yeah.
End up in divorce. Now we're trying to bring that statistic down, right, and abolish it so it doesn't have to happen, especially when we've had it was bumpy, but it was still successful. It was bumpy, right, with Louis in his 14, 15, 16 years. It got really bumpy because he was becoming a man and coming into himself, so it was tough, and he was living with us, but we were able to pull it off, right? We were able to pull it off. We were able to raise him to be a responsible citizen of the United States of America, who's got a job and who is going to actually get paid some taxes finally this year, because he hasn't filed in over 5 years, even though he's been working.
Okay, let's not put all this dirty laundry out there.
That's not dirty laundry. That means the government owes him money, because he's an only anyways.
He's an independent.
Yeah. So anyways, now you've lost some of my train of thoughts. Anyways, so we've raised them. We raised them well. And Gianna, we raised her well. She's in master's now and laying hands on people and praying. And so again, and now I love what you said the other day about us. We are now in the growing old together stages of our lives. And the good thing is that for at least 75% of the time, we really like each other. So it's been working out.
Notice your dad just said 75% of the time.
Yeah, because the last 25% of this day has been really, really weird, which is why we know this is going to be a good podcast and bless somebody, because
well, I'm not allowing the enemy to come in, so I rebuke you in the name of Jesucristo.
Okay, thank you. Thank you. Please cut away from that when she's doing that.
I didn't.
Anyways, so it's going to be good, and there's a few more statistics that I know you want to share.
Yeah, so it did talk about that that children from blended families are 3 times more likely to experience emotional and behavioral issues compared to their peers that may have a biological setting.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. I get it. I still believe that even if it's 100% biological, there's still different factors. You come from 100%. Well, no, you were also blended because your older sister was from another parent. But if you look at the 3 siblings that were you grew up with, right? They've all gotten their quirks, just like my family. We all have our little quirks, right? The last 3 of my mom were from the same family, from the same dad and the same mom, and there were still some emotional scars. But I think the emotional piece comes when, like, even let's say, you and I would not have made it. Now Louis has seen 2 different moms in his life, right? And that causes different sort of trauma, I'm sure. So.
Yeah. Well, and I think when it comes to the emotional experience, and if we're going to just go based off of our experience with Louis, there was, growing up as a little kid, there was 2 different things, two different places that he was being placed in.
Wow. Yeah.
At different times. And so how confusing is that for a kid, where you're getting discipline and you're getting, all these things over here, and then, you're getting maybe a lot of screaming and yelling, and not to say that didn't happen in our house too, because we had our fair share of things happening in our house. But when you have 2 different things going on and you don't know which way you're going, which way is coming and going, that can leave a lot of emotional scars. And remember his behavior. Like, there was a lot of behavior problems that we had to work through during that time too. And so I can see how that can be very problematic for families to have to, like, navigate through those changes and those differences.
Well, he sat at this table and said that seeing us here and then going back and forth caused him to be bipolar. He literally said it out of his mouth. Like, I seen you guys here, you and mother getting along, going to church, going on date nights, taking us on family trips, and then I went over there, and then there was nothing like that going on.
Well, I mean, I certainly don't want to put a label onto things, because bipolar disorder comes from.
Yeah, but he knows he's not bipolar. But what he was trying to say was,
I get it.
He's seen one lifestyle over there and one lifestyle over here, and a child would have been.
Yeah, the situation was bipolar.
There you go.
Yeah, like there was just 2. It was just 2 different situations.
2 different worlds for him.
2 different worlds.
Yeah. And so that, that had to have been difficult. But, I never want to just focus in on him, because Gianna, too, had to kind of live through that experience as well. So, like, when it comes to the blended family, dynamic, it was hard emotionally too, right?
Yeah.
So talk to us about that.
Actually, that's funny you brought it up, because I was thinking about, there was one time when we were living in Des Plaines, and something happened with Louis. I don't remember what it was, but we were all sitting at that little table that we had, that very small table that we had, and I'm crying, and Louis looks at me and goes, "Why are you crying? This isn't about you." And then I don't know who it was, but one of you guys was like, "This is affecting her too. You know that, right?" I don't remember what it was about, but it was definitely about, like, Louis and, like, his living situation. And I don't know why I thought about that, but, like, I just remember, like, there was a moment where I think it was either about Louis living with us or not living with us, something, like, I don't remember what it was about, but it was just, like, in that moment, like, that affected me. I don't remember what it was, but obviously it affected me because I was crying.
Yeah.
But I think it was also, it was difficult because, like, like another situation that happened was one time at school, in high school. One of my friends asked my best friend, like, what is it like being the youngest sibling? And I was like, well, I'm a younger sibling too. He was like, no, you're more of like an only child. I was like, no, I'm not. He's like, yeah, your brother's not really your, like, he's your half brother. I said, I don't see him like that. He's my brother. Like, he's still my brother. He was like, yeah, but he doesn't live with you. I said, that doesn't matter. He's still my brother. Yeah. I was just like, it was just very weird. And I've had so many moments like that where it's just like people consider him like not my full brother because he has a different mom than me.
And I think because they didn't realize how much he really was in our lives. Because I pick him up every Friday and drop him off Monday at school. So Friday night, Saturday, Sunday, and some of Monday, there was still enough interaction where you knew who he was. You understood, what his life was like, was what he liked, what he didn't like, And so, do you remember that night that you like kind of threw up?
Oh my gosh, Bobby!
I'll never forget.
Wow, he just exposed.
No, but I'm just saying how close you guys actually were. You got sick and you couldn't make it out of bed, and you just threw up on his bed. You know what I mean? There was situations and circumstances that way where you were just that closely knit to him. So
I think once we finally moved into this house and he officially lived, I think that's when we got the closest.
Yeah.
But that's natural.
Yeah.
I don't actually really remember having a relationship even when we were living in the same room. Not
because it was in the weekend. Because it was mostly on the weekend.
And it's just like we just didn't. I mean, there's also we were younger, so we didn't have much in common. He always thought of me as annoying, so it's just like.
And he was.
You were the little sister.
Yeah, and he was League of Legends obsessed. I don't know if you that was that period.
Are you kidding? I lived in the same room with him. Of course I knew.
Where he was just like
all night
long. Yeah.
But it's okay because I was on The Sims at the same time, so we would game together basically.
Yeah.
I think you guys had a very, and you still do. You have a very good relationship. The one thing that I will say about Lewis is that he. Although there's a lot of things that he had to go through, like he still has a very compassionate and caring heart. And so, that there were things that affected him, but he didn't allow a majority of things to affect him during that time.
And I think we had enough vacation time together where we got to grow and really spend some.
Well, and that's funny that you mentioned that because, one of the things that is going to be very important for families is, if you have a blended family situation going on right now, if you are doing nothing to bond, and what I mean, like, bond the family together, but also bond individually. So, let's just say mom comes in, you have a husband and wife, but wife comes in with 2 kids. If you, husband, are not bonding with those children in some way, shape, or form, then that is a mixture for disaster.
Yeah.
There has to be some bonding that happens. And I'm only saying that, and I really want to speak to the younger, to the younger couples or to the newlyweds that are just walking into this, because now I have the opportunity to be able to shed light onto that, and so that you don't make the same mistakes that I did.
That's good.
Because there was no bonding in the beginning, because I was prideful, and B, I was mad at the baby mama for interrupting constantly our life, and so that will, if you allow that to keep you from growing this bond with the child, then you will always find yourself in a situation where you're going to ask yourself these questions like, well, why is this kid not doing this, and why is this kid not doing that? I was thinking about this the other day on how my son has this habit of, like, I think I was thinking about it because of the birthday incident, right? We were cooking Lewis dinner, and I was at the store and I was getting him a cake, and I really wanted to make sure to get the right cake, and I was getting a card, and so I was like taking my time, and anyways, long story short, he didn't end up coming. At the last minute, he got called into work, but for a lot of years, I've been able to identify that, Lewis will tell us something and then he'll do something, different in the long run. And I think it's because, of the life that he had to live, where he had to be here and he had to be this kind of peacemaker on this end. And then he had to be in our house, and he too had to, keep the peace because of, what have you. And so when we do that, then children tend to lie. They tend to kind of tell you things that you want to hear versus what you need to hear, or just tell the truth and just say like, hey, I can't make it. I can't, I think that is a learned behavior as you go through life, because, when you're tossed around from one place to another, that's got to be a really hard situation to have to go into, because now you have to please two sets of people to just be one person to have to handle that, or in some cases, two children come in. So this bonding aspect has got to be extremely important for families.
And I was also very immature in the beginning, and it was my first child, my only child. So I was spoiled him a lot. I wanted to make sure he had everything that we didn't have, that old thing. I want you to have everything I didn't have. Mm-hmm. And so very early he had technology. He had his own TV in his room. He was praying for a Nintendo, and magically he ended up with, or a Wii or something like that he wanted for the room, and magically he got it. And so...
Oh, because I won it at AT&T.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, that's right.
So it was free.
So, but either way, I was just very incredibly immature. So I was not connecting the dots with my wife. I was not making things easier at first. I was kind of living a double life as well. It wasn't until I got a little bit of wisdom and I was like, you know what? You want to be angry? You want to know exactly what's going on? Perfect. You deal with her moving forward. And now if she has anything she needs, she can call you. If there's time to pay the child support, you can talk to him. When it's time to pick up Lewis, you can talk to her. And so I kind of like pushed you into taking that role. And that may be what you need to do, is that if there's a dissension in the home as the head of the household, your job is to diffuse that. And so I didn't know, 6 months, a year, maybe even 2 years, we lived with a lot of friction because of that. And then I got wise and I was like, you know what? I don't need to deal with that anymore. I have a better half that can deal with it. And I can still see my son. And so just kind of sit down. And this is part of almost everything we're ever going to share with you. The key is what, babe?
Communication.
Mm-hmm. The key is communication. If it's sex, communication. If it's money, communication. If it's kids, communication. Whatever it is, the key factor that's going to help you make sure that you live in harmony with each other is that you communicate early and often.
Yeah.
And so we, in fact, needed to communicate. And finally, we did communicate. And we set up a couple of things, and we'll talk through those things. The first one I see is the family meetings. But speak to the fact of when finally I decided to allow you to be the communicator between me and my ex.
Yeah, I think this is going to be very important, especially for the parent that has to be the step parent in this case. It is extremely important for you to be the peaceful conduit, if you will, because I think what happens is when you, as the step parent, come into this and you retreat, that too is a recipe for disaster. You want to be very involved in everything, because again, one of the things that I had to make very clear to Lou was that, we're married. Like, this is forever. This is something that we're in until we are buried. So I'm not going anywhere. There was numerous conversations that I had to have with Lewis, like, hey, look, I remember when he was 10 and we were sitting in the living room. It was just him and I just looked at him and I just said, look, kid, I am your dad's wife. You have a mom who's very, present in your life, but I'm not going anywhere. And sometimes giving that reassurance to your child is going to be extremely important, but making yourself present is going to be important too. Like, you can't just tell your kid, like, hey, look, I'm not going anywhere. So if you're going to give me a hassle, like, that's a whole different, do you see the difference between the types of communication is it really is the way that you premise it and you lay the foundation to give this child the security knowing that, hey, look, you have you have a bonus here. Lots of people only have one mom.
Yeah.
You get the luxury of having two that are going to love you, and maybe they're not going to love you the way that, you expect, because everybody's different. But, one of the things that I made abundantly clear to Lewis was that I was not going anywhere and that I was going to be here. And so, although that time was rough, having to, be this middle person, if you will, I also found it to be very purposeful and very necessary, only because it showed him, and along with his siblings too, that I was a consistent person in his life.
Yeah.
That I too was not going anywhere. Now, did I have a lot of things that I needed to work through, as a new parent? Because just like you were a new parent, when we got married, Gianna wasn't here. And so I had to, learn how to be this step parent along the way too. So it was a learning curve for me.
Yeah. And one of the things that really helped us, right, early in our marriage in Christ, right, not when we originally got married, but when we started walking with Christ, was, we had some, our mentors that were also a blended family, and they started to plug us into the marriage community and different things, the 5 love languages and, that whole thing, and family meetings. One of the bullet points on your notes was the fact that, very, not very early, I wish it was earlier, but once we realized that it was needed for us to sit down with the kids and they were able to interact with us and give us, how they were feeling and things like that, we incorporated regular family meetings. And anybody that we have ministered to that have had issues with a blended family, one of the things that we recommend right off top is that they begin to have, 30 to 45 minutes to an hour meeting with their kids, just kind of discussing the different things that's going on in their lives. Do you want to share on that, or you want me to give them what the process that we used?
Well, I think we've talked about the process in the past, but I think
it's worth for new folks or folks that haven't had a chance to go back and listen to it. I think, why make them look for it if we can just kind of walk them through it again. So one of the things that right off the top, right, Gianna was maybe 6 or 7. Lewis was almost 10. And so we've asked him really pointed questions. How was your heart? How are you feeling? Has anybody asked you to keep a secret? Has anybody touched you to make you feel uncomfortable? Right? What do you think? How did we do this week? How, what are some of the things that we can change? So those types of questions and allowing them to speak, right? Allowing them to speak, I believe, not only helped us in that time, but set the stage for future communication between us and the kids, because it was open communications. And especially when we asked them, what did we do? How did we behave? What did we need to do to change? And they gave us that feedback, right? And then we applied it. Then it helped them realize that those, and add some value to those family meetings.
Yeah.
So.
Family meetings are extremely important because you can talk about a plethora of things in these meetings, and we absolutely did. I mean, it wasn't just like, hey, how did things happen in school? And, we were able to really talk about things. And so when it comes to what we were talking about earlier, when it comes to this bonding, some of us, and we just recently spoke to a couple where they were coming into their marriage with teenage kids. So, you've got, now you're coming together and one parent comes in with teenage kids. That's a really, rough and bumpy road to have to go down, because it's different than me walking into a situation where Lewis is only 1 year old. Yeah. Now you're walking in where, the child is coming into themselves. They're becoming, an adult. They have different likes, different dislikes. They're bonded to their biological parents. So now this foreign person comes into the mix, and it's hard to navigate through that. Well, I think the biggest thing is, still the family meetings are important, but are you finding out what their likes and dislikes are? Asking a teenage kid, how do you want to be parented, is not a bad question to ask. Just sometimes if you're in the workplace, a question, that some ask you is like, how, what does your work skills look like? Or how do you like to be managed?
How do you like to be coached? How do you like to be held accountable?
Right.
How do you like, yeah.
So we ask those questions in the workforce.
Yeah.
Why is it not okay to ask questions like that in your family unit? Like, hey, how do you like to be parented? Because you can walk in with guns a-blazing like I did and be that warden parent and do this and do that and do this and do that and get no, response from the child. But if they can give you some feedback to say, hey, look, like, I'm cool with a warning system, or I'm cool with you having a one-on-one with me, or, I don't want you to yell at me in front of people. It embarrasses me. Like, talk to me on the side. Things like that. Like, these are things that you can respect and honor, and that just only allows your respect between each other to grow, and so that you can walk fruitfully together. So, asking those kinds of questions are good. What kind of things do you like to do? I mean, there was no doubt in my mind that we didn't know what our kids liked to do, what their activities were, what their likes and dislikes were. Why are you laughing?
Well, because we did know what they like to do. They like to play video games, but we just didn't get involved with that. That's the reason I'm laughing, is because if I would have known then, or if I would have accepted what I know now back then, I would have sat down and been like, come on, sign me up for the Sims thing, or sign me up for, or let's sit down, or teach me how to play this game or something. But yeah, it was right in front of our face. It was right in front of our face, now that I come to think of it. So,
do you feel like we catered to your...
Can I, before
yes.
Oh, okay, go.
Well, you did. Actually, let me tell a story.
Go ahead.
Story time.
When I first started playing The Sims, this is so funny. When I first... I stole it originally. I stole it originally.
Yeah.
And I stole all the content packs. I stole it all.
Gianna.
I know.
She bootlegged it.
I did. I bootlegged it, and I told Boppy. He said, Gianna, you can't do that. And he bought it for me.
There you go.
Way to go.
Well, look how far I've come now.
Yeah.
I've spent so much money on that stupid game.
But you're not stealing anymore.
Is that the game where you made a Dolce?
I did, yeah.
Yeah. So so here's another thing I remember from our conversations, because I used to ask, so what did we do well, and what could we do even better? And Gianna's like, you yell too much sometimes. You just yell too much. I was like, okay, baby. So I tell you what, the next time I start yelling, just remind me.
And then I do it, and then you got mad at me.
Well, because
you yell at me. I go, Poppy, you're yelling, and you go, and you get mad because I told you that I don't like being yelled at, and you yelled at me.
Yes, but you were doing something. But you were doing something that you should not have been doing. So you can't tell me. I'm not just yelling to yell. You were doing something that you shouldn't have been doing. And again, this was before Christ. I mean, I was saved, but God was still working on me. This was before, I got baptized with the Holy Spirit, and I was doing what God wanted me to do. So I told her, no, I'm not going to stop yelling, because you shouldn't be doing that. It's going to get you this, blah, 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 and so, but the fact that we were entertaining the conversation already, that we were already talking about how we should interact or behave, I believed it gave you, right, inevitably, and I think all of our talks driving you back and forth to school too, just kind of really an open field to just share with us, different things about your life.
Well, and I think it's important too, from one step parent to another, it's going to be very important for you to have those types of conversations, with your bonus child. We're not going to call them your stepchild, but with your bonus child, only because I remember having a conversation with Lewis where I was like, Lewis, just tell me, tell me what, I need to hear what I said and how it affected you. And he'd be like, no, I'm over it now. Like, remember, like, he would be like, yeah, I'm good now. And he would just not want to go there, but I needed that. And so, as a step parent, I ask you, be open to allow your children, your bonus children, to be able to talk to you about the things that you may be doing that may be affecting the household too. It only helps you grow. It only helps you get better. And it allows everyone in the house to have a voice. Now, is everything truth? No. Everything is, can be based off of just opinion, but you should still be able to allow them to speak. And then you can speak to that in love, because, that's the only way that you're going to be able to walk through things, like adults, especially when they're teenagers, but when they're kids, the family meetings, one of the things that I have on our notes too is, building, when we both come in together, we each have like different traditions. Like, I remember you told me that, when you were a kid, your mom did this like nighttime snack or something.
Yeah, cookies and milk.
Or something, whatever that is.
Something.
But in our house, you don't eat anything before you go to bed, because I don't want you waking up in the middle of the night puking or peeing or whatever. So to me, that was different. But, if that's something that you really loved in your family unit and you wanted to incorporate that into the household, you should be able to do that. Talk about traditions, talk about things that, brought you joy in your family, and marry that into the family unit.
Yeah, we may need to change the Christmas tradition that we've done for years now.
Why?
Because this year, what did we do?
We didn't even do it.
We didn't even do it.
We didn't even do it.
Did we fall asleep, or did we just open up
you
gifts?
guys wanted to go to bed, so we opened up in the morning.
But see, in my household, that's what we did. That's what we did. We went to sleep, and Santa came to town, baby.
In my household,
as far back as you can remember,
that is not how I grew up.
Yeah,
in my household,
yeah,
your child's household, that is not how we grew up.
Yeah, if you're Boricua, you know what it is, right? You waited till midnight, and right at midnight, the kids get to open up their gifts.
Okay, well, aside from Christmas tradition, there's a lot of other things.
This is true.
When we talk about tradition, there's a lot of other things that we've incorporated that we have made a zero compromise, like dinner time. If you are all home during dinner time, and, dinner is there, or whether it's coming through the front door, through DoorDash or whatever, we should be sitting around a table. That's right. Like, there is no reason that two people should be in the kitchen and two people should be sitting in front of the TV. We don't do that here. When we know that dinner is here, whether, again, it's cooked or brought in through the door, we are sitting at this table. Right. There is no telephones? Who says that? There's no phones at the table, and we are sitting together, as a family. Again, this is another bonding opportunity. Anymore. Well, you're in masters, but when you are home, though,
they're my family.
So then build in the tradition.
Yeah. Hold them accountable to that tradition.
But this is part of the bonding moments. So this is some of the things that we have to do when it comes to bringing a family unit together that is very separate.
Yeah.
Right?
So, yeah. I love that time at the table.
Yeah.
What are you looking at me for? What'd I do?
We still do it, but now the TV's on.
But when it's just your dad and I, we're like, we'll because half the time we're together all the time.
Okay, yes.
So
what did you do from the time you left the couch and came sit over here?
So now we just kind of like look at each other and we're like, what do you want to watch? But there's still no
Why do you keep calling it a telephone?
I don't know.
You're showing your age.
I know, it's so weird. Bring. Anyway, yeah, we don't bring our phones, but we agree to watch something, and these days we're watching Chicago PD.
Bruh.
I think your dad wanted to be a cop in his past life.
You say you wanted to be a cop?
Yeah, I went to school for it.
Yeah.
How do you go to school to be a cop?
Criminal justice?
Bobby.
And then you get in.
What do you think happens? They're just like, you're hired.
No, I thought they get an associate's degree and then.
Yeah, that's what I did. I was going to get my associates and I was taking criminal justice, and then I wanted to get into the academy.
Not really a degree. You have a degree. Well, you have a degree, but
Well, now I do.
associates are like gen eds and
What do I have my degree in?
Communication.
business.
Communications. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. But the reality is, we now still sit at the table, yet we
Yeah.
watch something.
Yeah.
Here's some other ideas. You know, we can cook together. What are some of the outdoor activities that some of us like to do and bond in?
Did we do that?
What?
Outdoor activities?
Nobody really here got into sports. I'm sorry, outdoor sports. Basketball and volleyball are indoor sports.
She
played
did softball.
Oh, that's right. I used to help you with your
Hello.
band.
And Gianna, you know what? Gianna was like a ballerina.
I was a ballerina.
She was.
Sorry, Louis. Man, Louis played no
Dito,
sports.
He didn't play
He didn't
any
like.
sports.
Well, he was in karate.
And he did wrestling. Remember, he would get up at 5 in the
That's
morning.
Right.
I was so
all
proud of
right.
him when he did that.
I take that back. Yeah, he did some sports, but Gianna was all in for
I
everything.
did a bunch of sports.
Yeah, I remember I took you. I was proud of myself
Brep.
because
Brep.
she got up there, she hit the ball, boom. She's like, you can tell her dad has been working with her. Her dad has been working with her.
I want to play softball again.
Softball was a good time, and you know we've encountered a lot of parents, some that are watching, that that become softball parents during the season, and
Yeah.
But again, let's remember, if you are a blended family,
Include
you got to include everybody. So we got to find out what one likes, because I remember, when Gianna was in dance, Lewis was in karate, and you were taking him to karate on Saturdays, and we were splitting the time, and I was taking her to dance class. And so there's a lot of work that you have to put into it to where everybody feels, like the other one's not being slighted. I love the fact that Gianna said, in the beginning, she said, Lewis was my brother.
Yeah.
We never wanted to set that environment like, oh, that's only your half brother, or that's only, because that was not in my household.
No,
like Carrie was never considered, my half sister. Carrie's my sister. Like, there's no doubt about it that we're literally cut from the same cloth.
And can I also just say that your family embraced Louis? Mm-hmm. I mean, he was the first grandson, mm-hmm. and so I remember the first holiday. I thought we were just gonna go and maybe I would get something, and Gianna, but Louis had the most out of all three of us. Louis walked out of there with a big garbage bag full of.
You weren't born yet.
Full of big
Doesn't
garbage.
matter.
Big garbage bag full of
I
gifts.
should have gifts before I'm even alive.
Listen, you walked out of there once you were born, because Gianna was considered the second oldest grandchild.
Okay. Technically, sure.
Anyways,
Technically.
so, but there's work.
Yeah.
There's work, families. Like we gotta make sure that we're working smarter and not harder, but there has to be hard work that needs to be put into it as well.
So family game nights.
Family game nights.
Yeah.
They get pretty rough in this household, but
Somebody's still butthurt about some things.
What? You're
But
butthurt about something?
Not me. I just get up and walk away from the table. It doesn't really
Right.
matter to me.
that's
Right.
But
so
your
annoying.
mom, your mom still talks about Monopoly days.
Oh, and you gave me your money?
Yes.
That's not how you play the game. That is not how you play the game.
So what? She's my daughter. My riches are her riches. Boom! I walked away from the I was like, "Here, you take my millions." And she was so bad, and so was Louis, because Louis was here too.
Yeah.
And he would walk away from the table too. So what a great example you were setting, sir.
I didn't walk away mad. I didn't from Monopoly. I did
From
not
the
walk.
Monopoly? No, he said, I'm tired. I'm going to bed. Here's your money.
Here's the money. I didn't walk away mad from Monopoly.
No, because Monopoly goes on for so long.
Yeah.
I was
He
not
walked
about to
away
give
from
up.
Mexican Train a couple times mad.
Nuh-uh.
No, I didn't.
I don't remember him walking away.
Anyways,
mad, but-
this
I didn't.
So yes, I agree. Game nights are important for family bonding. I really like this next one. Volunteer together.
Yeah.
I love watching families volunteer at church, getting involved in the cafe, getting involved in going out and doing Bridge to Life. Volunteer together. You are, and I think I mentioned it earlier, even with a mission trip, like you get to see yourself in a different light, and you get to see your child. And I remember, I know that there was a couple parents that have come with us on mission trips with their stepchild, not the biological parent coming with the child too. And that's an extra added way of, bonding with your child too. So
when I was looking for the picture up here, I found pictures of Lewis and Buckethead Barbie and the Nerds.
Oh, wow. I didn't remember
I found
that.
videos. I actually found videos of him. What was his name? Do you remember his name? I remember Buckethead Barbie.
oh, it's Bucket Barb.
It was Buckethead.
Buckethead Barb, not Barbie.
I think it was.
I don't remember.
I think it was Barbie.
I don't remember.
I know he
his
had an
name.
afro.
Yeah, he had an afro. He went all out the first couple of times, and then he stopped.
But anyway, so you and I were serving in the church, deacons and praying and that kind of stuff, while our kids were serving in kids' church. So it's always been part of what we do is serving God's people either inside or outside of the church, which is one of the things that I think it's super important if you are blended and you want to create some good foundations for your children. It's gotta be in the church and it's gotta be God.
Yeah.
In our house, you read a chapter a day, even when Louis was in his mom's house. If I paid for his phone bill, which I did, he was copying it. He was reading the scriptures, copying it, sending it to me, and then we would discuss them later when we got together. But it was always something that needed to be done, and so I absolutely, and that's a sense of togetherness because it was a group chat. So you can see when the other people did not participate, and so my son knew I would turn his phone off if he didn't send me the scriptures, and so again, things that you do together that you don't know have the impact that it does have. Much like serving together, Louis now understands scripture, even though he's not connected to the church anymore. But you can't tell him who God is because he knows exactly who God is and God's love and his grace and his mercy over his life. And it's all because we made sure to include the God component to it all. And some people say, I'm not going to force my children to go to church. I'm not going to force my stepkids to go to church or my bonus kids to go to church. Well, do you force them to go to school? You do. So as long as you're sleeping under my roof and it's a Sunday, you're coming to church. That's it. And I would ask that you set those same guidelines, those same standards for your home.
Yeah. The last one that I really love that I have here is storytelling sessions. I think that is really cool because that brings in understanding of where everyone came from. So, for instance, I'm sure that Lewis got a lot of stories being told, on his mom's side, her background and, grandmother and all that stuff. And then, of course, you would always have conversations with him and talk to him about things and on your rides in. And sometimes, Lewis either lived close or he lived very far, right? Mm-hmm. Remember when he lived in Glen Ellen? So that's like an hour drive to drop him off sometimes in traffic. So you had that time to talk to him. And so, having an opportunity to story tell and kind of talk about your family dynamic, which would be different, gives the child perspective of how you grew up, what your parents were like. Lewis had to understand that, hey, look, my dad was a military man. So he was very militant in his parenting. He was very straightforward. My mom, worked a lot. She was a nurse, so she carried a lot of emotional baggage. And, so there was a lot going on there that I had to explain to him, which then explains, who I am now. I like what you said, that, raising your children in Christ, regardless of what your family dynamic looks like, all of that changes. Yeah. Because it doesn't matter how you grew up. It's how are you dealing with those situations in the moment. And we've talked about it, the way that you communicate is key. The way that you're communicating things, the way that you're talking, the way that you're, we're going to give you three different things that are going to be important. It's right here. Three different things that are going to be important when it comes to effective communication with your kids, with each other. And if you're sitting here and your kids are listening too, hey, look, you play a part in this too. Effective communication on your end is going to be very important because we should be looking out for all of these things. So the first thing is active listening. So when it comes to active listening, define that in a sentence.
Yeah, you have to listen to understand, not to respond. You must listen to understand, not to respond, and ensure that, their feelings are being taken into consideration even as they're sharing. And so, so that's the first piece. And then there's open-ended questions.
I love that one. Open-ended questions is so important because if you have that child or you are that parent that answers questions with one word, no, yes, okay, you're not asking the right questions.
That's right.
Open-ended questions is going to engage conversation. So an example of an open-ended question would be what?
Talk to me about fill in the blank.
Right.
Talk to me about how your day went today.
Versus
how to go in school today.
Good.
And what do I say after that?
Why?
No.
Okay.
What was
good about it?
What was good about it?
Yeah, you can't leave me with good. Oh, okay, good. So what was good about it?
It's all we should always be leaning into the meat of the conversation to engage conversation, and open-ended questions are always going to in every situation is always going to open up the discussion.
And if I could talk to the men, this is harder for us. This is more difficult for us. But what I found, the benefit is worth the extra effort. The benefit is always worth the extra effort. Listen, when I used to drop my daughter at school, so what's your day looking like today? Oh, I got this in the morning, that in the afternoon, this, and then I got that, and I got that. Cool, and I register that. So when I get back, so how did your test go? I was listening.
Active listening.
Yeah, I was listening. So then how did your test go? And so how did your study go on Gandhi or on whatever it was that you were talking about, right? So I know they were teaching different cultures and different religions and different spaces. And so I listened and then I registered. And then later on in the evening on the way back, right? And towards the end of our drives, I was sharing my testimony. My daughter's like, "You need to come to the school and share that with the students."
I say that often, though.
Yeah.
I always say that.
Yeah. But
Not to me.
Well, here's the thing, though. Never mind. That's a story for a different day.
okay. But active listening and then making sure that you engage with the open-ended questions to make sure that there's a back and forth, right? It's going to be difficult at first, but you're going to see the fruit of it later on in your relationship with your kids. You love the nonverbal stuff.
I think that's my favorite one because I can honestly say that I am a very observant person, especially when a conversation is happening. Now, my husband loves to tell me to not focus on the tone, not focus on the way that I look, not focus on my face, but those things are important. Nonverbal cues are very important. How is the person, your child, or even your spouse entering into the conversation? How do they look when they're sitting? Do they look comfortable or are they tense and do they look angry? Because you can always gauge how the conversation is going to go just based off of that. So those things are important. What does the body language look like, and how can you, how are you going to be able to kind of ebb and flow through the discussion if they're walking into the conversation angry? Now you got to backtrack a little bit. You got to start asking some open-ended questions versus if someone comes in free-flowing and things are easy and conversation is easy, you may not have to ask as many open-ended questions because that person is going to engage with you and give you all the information that you need. But if not, you have to look for these things and you have to cater to those things too. So it's not just about viewing the body language and just kind of letting it go to its side. You need to speak to that. Like, hey, is everything okay? Do you want to talk about it? Because you may want to talk about something way over here, but they may have been, seriously hurt at school and they need to talk about that. And now the conversation is going in a completely different direction. And if we don't do that, if we're not, looking out for these things, then you could quite possibly be dismissing their feelings. And now they're not even open to having conversation with you and or trusting what you have to say. So being open and aware of those things are extremely important. This is how you're going to be able to get to know your kids. I know Lewis. Like when he comes to a table and he's like angry or he's sitting to the side and he's shaking his leg and he's kind of like staring off into space and I already know that he's upset about something. The good thing is that the kid is very open to share what's going on, whether he's mad at you or he's mad at somebody else. But get to know your kids. Get to know those things so that you could make yourself available to whatever it is that they're going through. And that goes the same way with your spouse. Yeah. I know when he's angry. I know when he has an angry face on. I know when he doesn't want to discuss something or when he needs to discuss something. So, these are things that you need to keep in your mental Rolodex. For those that don't know what that is, that's you keep.
Yeah, this generation doesn't know what a Rolodex is.
So you keep it in your mental cloud.
I say that though.
You say mental Rolodex?
I do.
Look at you.
What's a Rolodex though?
It's that thing that it's like then you go like this.
But what's in there?
It's phone numbers.
Yeah, so you used to have phone numbers. Phone numbers and
addresses and information.
Yeah, I know things.
Very good. Yeah,
but to you young people,
I was born in the wrong generation.
There you go.
For you young people, just think of it as the cloud. It's a place where you store things and you pull it out when
the cloud.
Yeah, the cloud.
It's your contact on your phone.
It's your storage.
Whatever.
No, your contacts. That's what a Rolodex is, because it's a phone number, it's an address, it's an email address.
Wherever you keep information, though, too. So that's the way that you
your
use
iCloud.
That. Yes, your iCloud. So, anyways, I know we talked about a lot of things. We're going to be taking this into a series because there's going to be we wanted to break this up a little bit and really kind of dig into some of the more practical things that you can do as you navigate through this thing called blended life. Yeah. We know that it's not easy, but we know that when you get Christ into the center of that, all things are possible. So, so one of the things that we want to just let you know as we kind of get into the next week, we're going to talk about parenting styles. There's a difference between parenting styles, and we want to break those things down. So in our next podcast, we're going to be talking about parenting styles and how you could nurture that relationship. Because again, remember, this is a unique situation. And there's a lot of differences. There's a lot of emotional things that come with it. And there's a lot of baggage sometimes that comes in. And so you need to care for these things carefully and do it with love. Yeah. If you really want this to work really well.
And realize that although we're speaking specifically over blended families, a lot of these techniques will also be with your natural, with your biological children, as well as with nieces and nephews, and maybe your
grandchildren,
or you're some sort of youth counselor, teacher.
Yeah,
or all of this information is going to help you with those tender minds that God has entrusted you with.
Yeah.
So.
Amen.
So there you go.
So we will see you on the next one. Thank y'all for joining us, and thank you for being patient. I know you missed us, but we're going to have lots more in store for you.
That's right.
Have a great day, and we will see you on the next one.